Welcome to the Applied Research tutorial on writing literature reviews. What you're going to find is a series of PowerPoint slides that I'm going to narrate to you, and in addition you will look and see a series of links to the side of the screen. So occasionally as I'm going through the slides, I'm going to tell you to pause the presentation and click on one of the links to the side of the screen. You are also welcome to print these links ahead of time and refer to them as a hard copy if that helps you. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the description, purposes, and structure of a literature review. So what a literature review is a comprehensive examination and synthesis of research on a given topic. What you want to do is look very completely and comprehensively at the literature that has been done on a given topic to determine strengths, themes, findings, applications, and implications for future research. There are several reasons for conducting a literature review. The first reason is to examine the characteristics of the research that has already been conducted. You might use this to design your own study in the future by seeing what has already been done. Do you want to replicate what has already been done, or is there a gap in what's been done and are you wanting to design something new? Another reason is to examine the major themes or findings in the literature, again to determine the bigger questions and results that have been found so that you can plug in your own study to make a unique contribution. Another reason is to examine the strengths and limitations of the research conducted, again to use those strengths and capitalize on them in designing your own study, and then to take into consideration those limitations so that you address those and rule those out in your own research. The other is to develop implications for future research. Again, all of these thinking about making a unique contribution to the literature that you're looking at. Now there are many ways to structure a literature review, but for this tutorial we're going to discuss two common ways that it is done. And I'm going to invite you to pause at any time on the slide and look at the first two links, link 1 and link 2, on the side of the screen. So the first link and the first type that we're going to discuss is organizing the literature by research characteristics. And again, this is link number 1. If you look at page 5 of the PDF that link is going to go to, and more specifically it's on that page, it's the paragraphs under table 1 on page 5, you can see that the authors discuss how they're going to organize their review, and they discuss organizing and looking at the participants in the literature examined, the types of settings that the research was conducted in, the behaviors looked at, the types of intervention, research designs, reliability, treatment fidelity, and major findings. So in that paragraph they're going to talk to you about how they're organizing the review, and then in the passages and the pages that follow they're going to discuss each of those items in turn. So you can take a look at that and see how that goes together. The second way to organize a literature review is by a predetermined framework or predetermined questions that you want to ask the literature. And the second link on the side of your screen is an example of that. If you look at that link on page 140, and those page numbers copied on that PDF, they're at the top of the page, or if you're just scrolling down, it's page 3 of the PDF. They talk about research questions that organize the review. So these are highlighted on that page. If you go to page 141 or page 4 of the PDF, there are expanded questions that sort of take off on the general questions listed on that previous page that show how they looked at the literature and organized it. So they're using those questions to analyze the literature that they're looking at and then to organize the writing of the subsequent pages. So in order to write a literature review, you first have to locate the literature for your review. There's some characteristics of good literature that you need to keep in mind. The first characteristic is that it is peer-reviewed. We talked about this a bit in class, but a peer-reviewed article is going to be one that is submitted to a journal and then have all of its identifying information taken off of it and then submitted to a committee of other researchers who are deemed experts in that area of research. They're going to look at it, they're going to read it carefully, and then they're going to come back with a recommendation for publication, either to publish it or to not publish it, or to publish it with some kind of changes or adjustments that need to be made to the manuscript. So we want that peer-reviewed process to happen. We don't want articles to just be put up or put into a journal that are not examined carefully by other experts in the field. Good literature also comes from reputable professional organizations. So for example, if you're in the field of special ed, the Council for Exceptional Children publishes a number of journals. TASH publishes a number of journals for persons with severe disabilities. If you're in general education, there are organizations like the National Council for the Teachers of English, etc. And lots of those organizations have, as part of their organization, journals that they publish that include peer-reviewed articles. So examining those organizations for their journals is also a way to find good literature. Prominent journals in the field, again, using special education as an example, Exceptional Children is sort of our flagship journal. There is Education and Training in Mental Retardation and Developmental Disabilities, Journal of Autism and Other Developmental Disabilities, the Journal of Positive Behavior Supports, Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis, etc., etc. So being aware of what journals exist in your field is also an important thing to know when looking at the literature for a review. So where do we find that? You can certainly go to the library databases and do some searches to find some articles. Now I would invite you to stop this and click on the third link to the side of your screen to look at, this will take you to a link to the library website for Webster, and it will show you some of the databases that exist for education literature. I would highlight the first database that comes up is ERIC, and you probably are all familiar with that. The ERIC database has a number of journals and resources for education articles. PsycInfo is also a good one to examine. So you would first look at the databases in the education field. Another thing that you can do is once you find a few good articles, you can actually look at the bibliographies from those articles to see what literature those articles drew from to put that article together. So again, I invite you to look at links 1 and 2 again, scroll to the back of the articles there and look at the last couple of pages on their references. You can see how the references are formatted, as well as some of the literature that those authors drew upon to put their literature review together. So that's a way of kind of chasing down some other articles to look at. You might also find specific journals that you think are particularly noteworthy or important to examine, and what you might do is a hand search of specific journals. Now you can actually get the physical copies of those journals. They're bound in volumes in the library, and you can page through them and look at the table of contents for each of the the journals that are bound in those big volumes, and see if there are articles that address your topic of interest. You can also do a hand search electronically by entering in a specific journal to look at and the dates of publication that you want to look at, so that you pull up all of the articles that have been published in a specific journal within a specific period of time, and then you can examine those to see if there are any articles that are dealing with your specific topic. Now, to search the literature, I'm sure all of you are familiar with conducting a search and putting in some keywords and then coming up with 800,000 possible articles to examine, which is pretty impossible to do. So one thing that we want to be really careful about is to bound the search. If you go to the library and you're searching under particular databases, there are on the search page, you can bound your search in a number of ways. You can do it by topic or keyword. The search page allows you to enter in multiple terms. So if you were looking at something on relaxation routines for kids with disabilities, you might choose to enter relaxation routines, and that might lead you to a whole bunch of articles. You might choose to narrow that down and look at relaxation routines and kids with autism, or relaxation routines and kids with mental retardation. You might also try to do something where you look up relaxation and yoga and try to narrow down a specific type of relaxation that you're interested in. But really using those keyword combinations can help you to limit your search so that it is manageable. You can also bound the search by participant population. Again, the examples that I gave above, looking at relaxation and autism, relaxation, mental retardation, relaxation and young children, looking at the age group, type of disability, those kinds of things will again help you to narrow your search. The date of publication is always something that is useful to do as well. I generally recommend, as a rule of thumb, that you bound your search to at least the last 10 years of publications. So again, if you were doing a literature review and looking at articles now, you might bound your search by you want to look at articles published between January of 1999 and the current time. So type of study is also another way to bound your search. You might be looking only at research articles, only those done in applied settings, only those done in schools. Type of intervention is another way. If there's a certain intervention that you want to look at, only those that involve, for example, if you were looking again at that relaxation example, only those relaxation interventions that involve yoga, only those that involve visualization, only those that involve deep breathing. Again, you can get more narrow in your search. Audience is another way to bound your search. You might be looking at only those articles written for practitioners, those that are written for other researchers, those that are written for parents, etc. And you can also bound your search by the journal or document. So you can put in your keywords and only search in a particular journal. So I'm looking for relaxation routines, and I'm looking at the Journal of Positive Behavior Supports to see if there's anything in that particular journal that deals with the topic that I'm interested in. So again, this allows you to narrow your search so that you're not having to manage huge numbers of documents. How much literature is enough? How many sources do I need? What's enough to know that I've really searched the literature well and I have everything that I want? So a comprehensive literature review, like we said before, sets specific bounds on the literature included. Again, the dates of publication is an example. We only want to look at the last 10 years or the last 15 years. Types of investigations. We might be interested in position papers, different theoretical papers, but for the purpose of our literature review, we want to only look at studies. Only look at studies done in applied settings. Only look at studies done with a certain population of kid. But we only want to look at those things that fall into those categories that we set for ourselves. A good literature review is going to incorporate all of the literature fitting into the bounds that we've established, as well as seminal articles. Now, seminal articles are articles that fall outside of the boundaries that we